Okay.
You all set?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks, John. Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to the April 7th River Falls Planning Commission meeting. First thing we'll do is say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next, Brandy, could we have a roll call, please?
Sure thing. Prendergast is absent. LaRue?
Here.
Holdcamp?
Here.
Watson?
Here.
Moody?
Here.
Hoffland?
Here.
And Mayor.
Here. Okay, next move on to approval of the March 2nd Planning Commission meeting minutes. I'll entertain a motion on that.
I move to approve the March 7th Planning Commission meeting minutes.
I'll second Hal's motion.
Okay, any questions or comments on the minutes? Okay, Randy, we have first and a second on the minutes.
Okay, Holdcamp? Mr. Holdcamp?
Yeah, I seconded.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry.
LaRue?
Yes.
Watson?
Aye.
Moody?
Aye.
Hoffland?
Aye.
And Mayor.
Aye. Okay, John, anybody there or anybody on the phone for public comments?
We have two people that were invited in, I think, for the Dawes place, but there aren't any people here.
Okay. So do they want to talk now? Or would they like to wait till we get to Dawes place?
I believe they're here to answer questions, Mayor.
Oh, okay, okay.
It's the development team.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect. I just want to take a quick notice here before we go any further. I just want to publicly thank Mr. Hal Watson Hal's been on the Planning Commission now since he's been back on the council, and this will be Hal's last meeting. He is stepping down as a council member, moving on to greener pastures. So, Hal, I greatly appreciate everything you've done in the Planning Commission over these years. You've been a wonderful addition, so I will greatly miss you. Thank you for everything.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate that.
Okay. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's been really nice to work with all of you on the Plan Commission, and I know I'm happy that it's in such great hands. So thanks to everyone for the work they're doing.
All right. Okay. So let's move on to resolutions and ordinances. First one is a resolution approving specific implementation plan for Dawes Place, Phase 1, and Brandy Howe, our city planner, will kind of direct us through this.
Would be happy to. John Smits, could you give me access to share my content?
Yes, just a second. There you go.
Thank you. Okay. What's it doing? You can't see anything yet.
Like I said, it's one of those days. We'll try it again. There you go.
What's it sharing?
Wait. Spelling counts. Let's make Brandy. There we go. All right.
All right, I'm gonna try sharing. Can't remember which one of these screens, too. Doesn't appear to be working.
We're not seeing your screen yet, Brandy.
I know, I'm sorry. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
Technical difficulties. What is going on?
I thought for sure this was going to be me. You know, I present once every 2 months, and
I know, I don't know what's going on.
How to do it. I should be quiet because it still might be me.
It's not, it's just not sharing. I'm selecting the screen and it won't share.
Do you want me to see if I can get into it, Brandy?
Well, sure, maybe.
So when you go to file and share,
When I hit the share, it gives me options for screens.
okay,
Selecting screen 1.
or can you do the application?
What do you mean by application?
Well, what program are you using? You have a bunch of stuff down below, so if it's a PDF or
Oh, I
something
could do
like
that. Sure.
try that.
PowerPoint. Is it sharing anything?
Just a second. No.
Okay.
You want me to
Should we try to have
it?
Amy share it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Let me, all right, tell me when you're out of it.
Can't hear you, sorry.
Tell me when you're out of the presentation.
Well, I still need to have it open because that's where my notes are.
Okay, Amy is the presenter.
You could open it as share or view only.
Okay. Wow, it's thinking. Okay. So,
Well, I could try to do a presentation without the slides. I mean, they're not that important.
Is that,
John, should I share screen 1 or 2? Do you know?
Well, either one of them will work at this point.
right. There you go.
There you go.
So it's a
Yeah.
green screen.
Green screen.
That's not the right one.
Okay, there you go. Now if you go to the, yep,
Okay.
and go up to display settings and hit the down arrow, switch, swap. There you go.
Is that good?
Perfect.
Yep.
All right,
Great.
thank
Just
you,
tell
Amy.
me when to go.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay. Ooh, now everything is freezing up on me. Okay. Well, I'm going to do the best I can here. Thanks, folks, for bearing with us. Okay, if you'll recall, last February, Plan Commission and Council approved the general development plan for Dawes Place. And you'll recall that this project will complete the Highview Meadows first edition that was started back in 2005, and it kind of petered out around that time. So when the GDP, the General Development Plan, was approved, it established the density for the area, the use, and then the general design. So the density is 13 units per acre, the use is multifamily, and we got a layout for the site. So when we approved the GDP, we looked at several criteria from the municipal code, and those included the community benefits, character and intensity of land uses, impacts on school traffic and municipal services, open space, and economic impacts. We also looked at consistency with the comprehensive plan and the official map. So now the next step, the applicant has submitted a specific implementation plan. So that's the detailed version of the engineering document and architectural plans, as well as landscaping and then stormwater. And skip to the next slide, please. So the total project is going to include 112 units and 13 buildings, and the applicant is proposing to do this in 2 phases. So the SIP that you're looking at that's under consideration tonight will be for phase 1. Phase 2 will come at a different time, maybe later this year. So the phase 1 includes the southern half of the site. It covers 3.2 acres and will include 42 units in 5 6-unit buildings and then 1 12-unit building. Each unit will contain 3 bedrooms, an attached 2-car garage, and then driveway parking for additional vehicles. Go to the next slide. So the image on the screen superimposes the site plan for phase 1 over the aerial photo. The 12-unit building is on the right side of the screen. It's the back-to-back style that's similar to the existing structures on Dawes Place. And then the other buildings are the 6-unit style, and they are the more of a traditional townhome, row home kind of a building. At this point, the developer intends to own and manage all 42 units. If he decides at some point down the line that he would like to sell individual units, we'll require a subdivision or condo plat at that time. And at that point, we would also require a homeowners association or covenants that would be required to take care of the ownership and maintenance of the shared infrastructure, like the streets infrastructure and snow removal. So next slide. So we just wanted to give you a little bit of context about this development, because there's a little concern about traffic for one thing. So the screen on, the image on the screen, it's just a snippet from the official map. It kind of points to where this plan is going to go in relationship to the rest of the Highview Meadows development. The blue lines, the dashed blue lines on the map are the existing, well, there's different colors of the blue line. So Meadows Drive is partially built out, and then part of Williams is built out. So as the later phases of this project, Highview Meadows 5th and 6th and 7th editions get built out, that road will also be built as well. So any cut through traffic that might be using Dawes Place right now is likely to be routed on those collector roads. They're colored in blue. So the current use of Dawes Place as cut through will diminish, and then it will function similar to other local roads in that area. So the SIP, it's the final design phase for a PUD, where the detailed engineering specs are provided to ensure that civil, stormwater, and architectural details meet the municipal code and they function appropriately for the site. Staff did our review, and we met with the developer on March 25th to discuss the revisions that we require. Given the timeline of that meeting plus this meeting, we haven't received the revisions yet, and that's not unexpected. So we therefore recommend approval of the enclosed resolution contingent on final staff approval, as is required to adhere to the municipal regulations and then professional best practices. So if it's recommended for approval tonight, the next step would be to take this to City Council on April 27th. And that is the conclusion of my presentation. I turn it back to the mayor.
Thanks, Randy. Okay, let's wait. There we go. I can see everybody again now. Okay. So we got first, so we got all the information on that. Now I'll take a motion on this.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the resolution approving specific implementation plan for Dawes Place Phase 1.
I'll second that.
Okay. We got a first and a second now. Questions or comments? Who would like to go first?
I have a question for Brandy.
Yep. Go ahead, Lisa.
Your comment was in regards to the traffic on Dawes Place, and that will be lessened once Meadow Drive and Williams are finished. What is the time frame on that in conjunction with them when they want to build out the new addition?
The time frame for construction of those roads, I think, will be concurrent with the construction of Highview Meadows Phase 6. Crystal, if I'm getting this wrong, just feel free to chime in. But we have engineering plans from Jeff Hughesby for Highview 6, and we anticipate the final plat for that project to come through this summer. So I think you'll be seeing dirt moving in that area yet this year.
But at this point, the what we're looking at right now would be built prior to Meadows being finished.
I would
We'll be
expect it would
close.
probably be concurrent.
Anybody else have anything?
Just, I've got a question.
Go ahead, Craig.
With the extra traffic, are we planning on putting, or the city planning on putting some, not only the speed limit signs, but any slow traffic or anything like that? I see that there's residential, well, this is all R1, but single family homes where we may have some kids out playing. I mean, the whole thing is going to hopefully have kids out playing, and this looks like a great neighborhood area. I just wanted to make sure that that kind of thing is get covered.
If memory serves, there's going to be no parking on Dawes Place. The street will be 25 miles an hour as per any normal local road. We're not anticipating this to have traffic that would be above and beyond what you would expect on a local road, so we didn't think it was necessary to put up additional signage.
Any estimates on the amount of traffic increase once this is fully developed?
It is no different than the original plan for this development. So the streets, as far as the widths and traffic speed and volume, was all accounted for at the time that this was originally platted back in the early 2000s. The traffic increase, it will probably seem like a lot to the people on Dawes Place, but it isn't uncommon for a local street in our city.
But you're feasibly looking at 100 new additional cars in there on that same little road.
Sorry, what was that?
Well, you're looking at essentially 100 additional cars on that little section of Dawes Place there. So that's a pretty dramatic traffic increase.
It will be a dramatic traffic increase from what is there today. I guess what I was trying to get at was that this was planned for back in the early 2000s, this type of development on this site. So the streets are built to accommodate that type of traffic.
Right, the unit count is actually the same as it was back in the 2005 approved PUD.
And are we thinking 15 years later that's still adequate? And I guess that's just it's still adequate 15 years later that it works for the number of
Yes, traffic, trip generation, for this type of development really hasn't changed a lot, over the years. It's still about the same number of vehicle trips in and out every day as it was 15 years ago.
This is Patricia. And it's also right across from a park, right? So you would expect children to go running over to the park? Am I accurate that that's where it's going to be?
Yes, I'm just looking at the map.
This development is, these kids from the new development would not have to cross the street to go to the park, but the park will be in their backyard.
And this is, my comment is sort of micromanaging, but just the fact that it is one of, just a second, I just had the name in front of me. Is Trevor Bruce or B Restoration available for questions?
Trevor is not on the line tonight, but I believe we have his architect and his engineer.
Okay, fabulous, because that's perfect. Like I said, I know this is micromanaging, and I understand that the builder is thinking possibly of making these privately owned in the future. Is it possible? I noticed that there are no decks. And in order to put in a deck, would it be possible when building these to frame in something for a sliding glass door so that someone who purchased it would be able to put in a deck? And it looks like there's little patios off the lower level back door. And so my question to the engineer would be, is that enough that someone could safely put a grill out there, or are they just tiny, just so you don't bring mud into the house kind of thing?
Sure, this is Jenny from Wendell. I'm the architect on the project. So these units are basically slab on grade. So we opted to do patios in lieu of deck, just to be more in line with the construction of the foundation. And they are more of what I would call probably more of like a stoop type patio, enough where you could put a few chairs and a grill potentially. But they're probably not sufficient to put like a full dining table and a grill or a nice big seating area. The units, especially the 6 units, they're on the northern portion of this phase, are about 20 feet away from each other. The buildings are, so we could expand those patios potentially, just not a great amount. So each unit does have a patio door and its own kind of private patio space, but there would be the potential to make it slightly larger.
And it would be hard to, when you're building, I understand that these aren't sliding glass doors on the second level, but to frame it in so that someone in the future could very quickly put in sliding glass doors in a deck, or is that just very expensive? I have no clue.
Well, the windows that we have on the second level are 6 feet wide, so it could, I mean, it's already framed essentially for a patio door width, so it could be pulled out and put in a patio door.
Okay, great. I just want these people to have some kind of I mean, I understand they have a park across the street, but looking at it, it didn't look like, if you had 6 people over for cocktails and, grilling out hamburgers, that they would really have a lot of room to go do that, except maybe their driveway. But, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Other questions or comments? Okay, Brandy, we have a first and a second on the resolution.
Offline?
Aye.
Moody?
Aye.
Watson?
Aye.
Holtkamp?
Aye.
LaRue?
Aye.
And Mayor.
Aye. Okay, next we'll move on to an ordinance to amend Title 16 and 17 of the Municipal Code pursuant to the terms of the Cooperative Agreement between the City of River Falls and the Town of Kinnikinnic. And our Community Development Director, Amy Peterson, will give us a little presentation about this.
Okay, I'm going to try this again. See if I can do it twice, hey?
There you go.
That looks good.
Yep. Yes, it does.
Okay, so good evening, Mayor and Plan Commission. I'll be providing an overview of the ordinance before you this evening, amending the municipal code pursuant to the terms of the cooperative agreement between the city and the town of Kinnikinnic. Mayor and seasoned Plan Commissioners, if you will allow me to just step back and provide a brief overview of the agreement through this presentation for our new Plan Commissioners, I think it might be helpful for them. So the cooperative plan is dated February 7th, 2019, and its effective date is in April of 2019 when the Department of Administration approved the plan. There's no expiration date for the plan. It simply expires when all of the land in the urban reserve area is attached to the city. So let's spend a little time with some maps in order to provide you some of the functional background of the agreement. Prior to the agreement, this is what the official map would have looked like. You can see the corporate city limits in purple, the extraterritorial zoning boundary in gray, which is here, the sewer service area boundary in yellow, the urban area boundary in light blue, and the extraterritorial subdivision boundary in green. Lots of boundaries, right? So to break these down into some simple terms, the extraterritorial zone is where the city had zoning control in the township. So in this area, prior to the agreement, if there was zoning applications, the city would have some say in the zoning in that area. For the sewer service area boundary comes from the 2000 to 2020 sewer service area plan and is essentially the areas where the city plans to serve with sewer in the future. The urban area boundary is from the 2005 comprehensive plan and is the city's growth area where development should be compact and not sprawled. And finally, the extraterritorial subdivision boundary is where the city had subdivision control in the township. All of these boundaries surround the city and are therefore located in all of the 4 townships. On this map that you can see all the lines that we just reviewed, and then there's a new area. This tan area with red boundary is called the Urban Reserve Area, and it comes from the Cooperative Agreement. What this agreement does is remove the gray, yellow, blue, and green line in exchange for the new Urban Reserve Area. It essentially says that the city is not interested in development in the rest of the town of Kinnikinnic. We're solely focused on the URA. So through this agreement, the city has said that we are going to focus all of our development in the future in this area. And this is the town of Kinnikinnic. And we do not have a say here anymore. So you take a look at this map. And this is essentially what the official map would look like if you approve the map changes that are before you this evening. So there's both ordinance updates and map updates. The map updates would eliminate those lines that you saw up in this area. It would add the urban reserve area. And you see that the lines continue where we do not have cooperative agreements. So over here in the town of Troy and down here in the town of River Falls. So just so you know, staff has been administering per the agreement since its effective date back in 2019. And the agreement provides for agricultural zoning in the urban reserve area. The reason that the ordinance and map changes did not come to Plan Commission sooner is that staff ran into a hiccup with St. Croix County as we began implementing the cooperative agreement. As staff started down the implementation path, this sentence from section 4.2.2 of the cooperative agreement seemed contrary to the rest of the document, which states that the city will have land use control in the URA. We worked with the county for over a year to determine the nuances of control and process from an applicant's perspective. We wanted to be able to provide the simplest process possible without multiple layers of government review for the public. While we believe St. Croix County could have delegated their statutory authority to the city, they did not wish to go that route. So the process is potentially more complicated with a few more layers of review, but accomplished the intent of the cooperative agreement, whereby the city and county's land division ordinances will be reviewed and whichever is more restrictive will hold. This was of special concern as the cooperative agreement sets a 35-acre minimum lot size and the county's minimum acreage is between 1 and 2 acres. So here's where we stand today from an implementation perspective. The green is added to reflect the land jurisdiction agreement with St. Croix County. Overall, the city has land use control except for non-metallic mining, shoreland, floodplain, and of course the sanitary sewer from the county's ordinance. Between the city and county, the most restrictive land division ordinance will hold, and per the plan, the town will continue to issue building permits in the urban reserve area. The ordinance and menu before you this evening codify the changes made in the cooperative agreement, particularly in the Ag District, with some of the modifications shown here and others detailed in the staff report. The maps, again, will be updated to reflect the map changes we discussed. So some of the changes to the Ag District you can see here is the minimum lot size from 40 acres to 35. The cooperative agreement did allow taller accessory structures than our normal agricultural district. And of course, adding the URA definition to the code. So just as an aside, I want to mention that the sewer service plan was called for in the agreement to do a boundary update. So the sewer service plan is dated 2000 to 2020, so it is already out of date. Since we will be completing the comprehensive plan this year into next, and we intend to provide some growth scenario planning in that process, I've discussed updating the sewer service area plan with our utility director. Right now, we are tentatively planning for an update of that plan to begin in late 22 or 23, as it will be a strategic time to utilize the growth projections in the sewer service area plan update. So at this time, we're not anticipating completing a boundary agreement, but we'll rather wait for the full plan update. So staff recommends forwarding the enclosed ordinance to the City Council with a positive recommendation. And with that, Mayor, I'll go ahead and take down the presentation and turn it back to you.
Thanks, Amy. Okay, so I'll take a motion on this. This ordinance first.
I'm working. So I move to, I guess, recommend the ordinance to amend Title 1617 of the Municipal Code pursuant to the terms of the Cooperative Agreement between the City of River Falls and the Town of Kinnikinnic. So move.
Second.
Okay, a first and a second. Questions and comments? Do we have any questions or comments?
I do,
Yep.
and this is
Go ahead,
just-
Chris.
Thanks. This is all kind of new to me, how zoning and towns and all that stuff works. So by consolidating the boundaries and having this urban reserve area, the expectation is that's where future growth will happen, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and so like the 35 acre limit is only there just to hold it until development begins, and then it would be annexed, and then the developer would work with the city to change the zoning to become residential or commercial or whatever it would become then at that point.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, just wanted to clarify that.
No, you're fine. Okay, was that it?
Mr. Mayor, I've got a question. Will this affect, or how will this affect anybody in that area today? Is there?
These changes, Amy, I don't think these changes affect anybody.
Yeah, no, so this is part of the implementation process. What you're approving today, staff has actually been going by since the plan was adopted in 2019. This just codifies it and gets the formality piece out of the way.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I have a question. Amy, do you plan when you all begin to tackle the comprehensive plan, do you anticipate looking at future land use or anything like that for the urban reserve area?
So Brandy is leading the comp plan. We haven't talked specifically about this, but I sure hope that we would put some future land use to that area. And Brandy, you can jump in as well. Right now, we don't have necessarily anything to go by except it's the urban reserve area. So it would be good to put some parameters around that.
I would add that even though our current boundary, I guess this is something that we'll have to talk about as a policy decision politically, how we want to move forward with it. But state law does give us the ability to plan for land 3 miles within our jurisdictional boundary. So, excuse me, should we get to a point within our planning timeframe with our comp plan, if we're looking 20, 30, 40 years out, and somehow we miraculously were able to attach all of that land within the urban reserve, we may want to have our eyes on what's going to happen beyond that boundary. So it would probably make sense for us to at least have some sense of what we would like or don't want, and put that in our future land use map when we're doing our comp plan.
Okay, thanks.
This is Patricia. I want to thank the staff because in our packet is also the extraterritorial zoning map, the official River Falls City map, and the official zoning map. And having the broader picture really helps me understand what's going on, especially funny, but it's color coded. So you can see where we're heavy on one side just by looking at the colors on the maps. And I know that wasn't required with this presentation, but it sure helps you get your brain around what's going on. So, and you can see where the town of Kinnikinnic is, you know, it just like stops at their boundaries. So thanks so much for adding these extra maps in here to help me understand.
You're welcome. Those will also be amended as part of this process as well. And that was primarily why they were added, but they are a nice visual.
Any other questions, comments? Brandy, we have first and a second on the ordinance.
Okay, I'll start with Watson.
Aye.
Holtcamp,
Aye.
LaRue,
Yes,
Moody,
Aye.
Hoffland,
Aye.
and Mayor.
Aye. Okay, next we'll go on to the director's report with Ms. Peterson.
Sure. So just a couple updates from the director's report. I can happily say that today we received full approval of the Tattersall project as it came to the Joint Review Board, and they provided approval of TID 17. So that was the last step in the project for Tattersall. So that was good news today. The other thing I wanted to highlight for you is that we did have a staffing change in the department recently. Jason Raverty, who was our project manager, resigned. And just to let you know, we are moving in the process to replace him, potentially with an assistant city engineer position rather than the project manager piece. So just a change there. Otherwise, if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Amy, you want to go right into did you want to talk about the annual report at all?
Sure, I'll just mention a few things. I think that we had talked about the annual report when I met with each of you individually. So I'll just provide just a little brief overview here. Our major projects that we accomplished include the Jug Handle project, the Campus Corridor concept, and progress on the North Sewer Interceptor Plan. We also supported the local business community during the pandemic with a couple of initiatives that weren't originally in our scope of the year. So from a permitting perspective, we continue to run high on permit numbers. However, they shifted from a stronger commercial industrial base in 2019 to a stronger housing component in 2020. Last year, we had the highest number of building permits issued in the past 5 years and the third highest total permit value in the last 5 years. So I hope you found the annual report interesting. And again, if you have questions, I will be setting up appointments again for our second quarter meetings, and we could discuss things then if you have questions on the annual report.
Anybody have any questions for Amy? No? Okay. Thanks, Amy. That was a good, I like the annual report. That was good. You guys got a lot of stuff going on. Okay. So I will look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, I have first and a second to adjourn. Brandy?
Okay. Hoffland,
Aye.
Moody,
Aye.
Watson,
Aye.
Holtcamp,
Aye.
LaRue,
aye.
and the Mayor.
Aye. Is everybody comfortable moving right into the workshop? Does everybody want to take a 5-minute break? Are we okay? What's everybody think?
Patricia's good.
We're good.
I'm good.
Okay, Amy
Peter, much more.
and
Oh,
Brandy, you guys all ready?
I'm ready. I have a theory why my thing didn't work before, so I'm gonna try it again.
Okay.
Oh, this is different.
Give me a second. It's working its way to you. There you go.
Now it's working. Okay,
Oh, nice.
but wrong. Wrong screen. Shoot.
No, it's there. It's just small.
There was a moment of zen.
Yep.
Okay, how do I get it gone now so I can switch screens?
Up to the top and you'll get a pull down.
Pull down.
Put your cursor towards that orange line at the top, the very top.
Oh, I can't see that because my thing is in the way. Stop sharing. All right, one more time. Okay.
We see a PDF. There you go. Nice.
Okay, so here's my theory as to why it didn't work before. I had two PowerPoint presentations open on my desktop. I don't know if that's a theory that works or not, but that's it. Okay,
Works for us.
I'm good with
let's
it.
get through. Let's get through this one. It'll be short and sweet. Okay, so back in February, we had a workshop on this special use permit topic. And at that time, we went through the 2017 Wisconsin Act 67 and discussed the impacts that that law has on our city's zoning ordinance. And so at that point in time, we had Larry Kirch with us, and he provided 3 options to the Planning Commission on how we could address those new regulations. And so those 3 options were we could just keep it at status quo, kind of just hobble along with how we've been doing it for the past couple of years. 2, we could amend the ordinance and look district by district and reduce the overall number of special use permits. And then if we wanted to keep some, we could make special specific standards for those uses. And then the 3rd option was to eliminate all the SEPs. So we had some discussion on those options, and ultimately we went ahead with investigating option 2, the sort of middle of the road option. So then we held a second workshop in March where we went through the R1 district use list specifically. And that time we decided that a number of the special uses could be eliminated, such as parking lots, libraries, hospitals, municipal buildings, warehouses, shops and storage yards, and microwave towers. So those seemed like obvious ones that didn't belong in the residential district, so we could check those. Then we discussed the remaining special uses listed in that district. So stuff such as bed and breakfast establishments and grocery stores. So the image on the screen, I borrowed it from the UW extension. It's an example of the type of uses that would typically be permitted or conditional or prohibited in a residential district. So in our discussion, there was general agreement that some commercial and some non-residential might be appropriate in the R1, so long as certain standards are in place, like landscaping and parking. And then we adjourned the meeting with the expectation that tonight we would come back and discuss further some of those uses and some standards that we could apply, and maybe some additional districts. But then, so the March workshop provided an opportunity for Plan Commission review of the R1 district and some good discussion. However, the direction that we were kind of headed down was likely going to maybe result in some pretty big impacts for the R1 district. So while we might agree that high density, or higher density rather, and commercial uses might be appropriate in R1 areas near the downtown, other R1 district residents might not be quite as supportive of it, and they might not be interested in having some of these drastic modifications in their neighborhood. So I've got an example on the screen. There's 2 bakeries. One on the left might be welcome in a single family neighborhood, and the one on the right, maybe not so. So since the March meeting, we met internally to discuss our approach in relationship to the scope and the impact, and also the timing of this project and where it's headed in relationship to the overall comp plan project that's going to be heading our way soon. And we determined that the direction that we were kind of headed in February and March was going to take us kind of into the territory where we would be doing a pretty substantial rewrite of the zoning code for most of the districts. So while we can agree that our code needs to be updated, it's going to need a substantial rewrite after we have our comprehensive plan completed. It's a little premature to start opening it up at this point in time for that purpose. So for these reasons, staff proposes an alternative direction to amend the ordinance related to special use permits. So our new approach is to focus on amending section 17-104-40 of the ordinance. And that section is the administrative standards and procedures for special use permits. The amendment, as written out in the enclosed draft that's in the packet, the amendment retains the public hearing requirement. It changes things up a little bit so that it gives the authority, the approval authority, to the Plan Commission, and the appeals would go to the Board of Appeals. The amendment also establishes the types of conditions that could be imposed by the Plan Commission, and it clearly states that the conditions must be related to the purpose of the ordinance, and they must be based on substantial evidence. And those are things that are coming straight from Act 67. So this approach can be implemented quickly and will bring the zoning ordinance into compliance with state statute. So as you can see in the packet, we propose to repeal and replace that section, and the old and the proposed new sections are included as exhibits in the packet. So while staff considered continuing forward to go district by district and eliminate the easy SUPs from the code, at this time we're recommending that we kind of nix that process and then instead go with this quicker administrative fix, and then set up this SUP discussion that we had earlier in the year, kind of hold that until we do our comprehensive plan project. Oh, and one thing that I didn't mention, the city attorney did review the draft ordinance and he agrees that it meets the requirements of Act 67. So if the Plan Commission is amenable, we recommend that we bring this back to you for official review and action at the May meeting, and then it would go forward to City Council. And that is the conclusion of my presentation. Hand it back over.
So what you're asking us is it okay if we like the rewrite of the section, and are we okay with you guys bringing it back for action at the next meeting?
Essentially, yep.
Okay. Okay, does anybody have any questions about it?
Just related to that, Mayor, that we're just talking about 17-104-40. Is that right, Brandy? Just that.
That is correct. Yep.
Okay.
This is Patricia, and the problem I'm having with this is it puts the authority in the hands of non-elected officials. So it bypasses the city council weighing in on something, which is where if you're someone who's trying to get something done, there may be a frustration that the people you're talking to aren't elected, and therefore they've been appointed by someone, and maybe they're appointed by someone who's no longer an elected official. So that was something that I was having a problem with. And then the second thing is we could still, because I still like the idea of having a bakery or a coffee shop or a little grocery store in a residential area where you run into your neighbors and you talk, and there's a connectivity to it. We could still do that, right? Just as a plan commission, the only thing you're taking out of it is going through the city council, correct?
Correct. So the state law change it changes the special use permit review process as a quasi-judicial action as opposed to a policy action. So it kind of functions as, like, if you'll recall, maybe you weren't there for the last one because we don't get them very often, but we have Amy White there. She reads the proceedings like you would in a court proceeding. There's testimony given by the applicant and by staff. It functions kind of like a courtroom. And so that process, it feels a little clunky for city council. We could have it go to city council instead of plan commission, but ultimately only one of the bodies gets to be the approval authority. It doesn't get to go to 2 meetings. The reason staff is recommending Plan Commission review, special use permitting and land use is more in your wheelhouse than it is in the council's. And there are members of council on the Plan Commission and the mayor as well. The other thing, you had another point in there. What was that? Oh, the other one was you would like to have maybe a bakery or commercial in a residential district. We're not taking that away. So because we're not touching the districts at the moment, every special use that's presently listed will continue to be listed. So they'll just come forward to Plan Commission with their application, and they will ask to put in whatever the business is, the special use. And then instead of looking at the review criteria that are in the chapter right now, if you have the code in front of you, there's section B1 has 4 criteria that you would look at. This is the old section.
Yeah.
To determine whether or not it's appropriate. Some of those aren't measurable, and they're maybe not as evidence-based. So we kind of got rid of that list. And instead, if you look up at the page above, which is the proposed new process, C, section C of that, itemizes what we can actually look at. The Plan Commission can impose conditions, and it lists out landscaping, architectural design, type of construction, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And those items are from legal review that we were able to pull out from attorneys that have looked at this new state law, and they've determined that those are appropriate and measurable, that we can base our decisions on, and we can be unique with every single request.
And I've liked that you've added the violations and revocation, because you can get people who come in with all good intentions and then it just doesn't work out. And to give that opportunity to say, you know, this isn't working out. So, okay, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mayor, if I may add.
Yes, go ahead.
So it really is a policy decision for you folks as far as how you want the process to go in the future. Regarding whether the decision is at Plan Commission or at Council. And Brandy, correct me if I'm wrong, but the way it's set up right now, it's Plan Commission, and then it would go to Board of Appeals if it's appealed. If it was chosen that it was at Council, that Council would take it and make the decision. Then if they had an appeal, it would go to Circuit Court. So this aspect provides an in-house appeal process where the council option as the decision maker would not.
Well, I like the way Brandy explained it, how it's only going to go to one of the decision makers, and whereas this is in our purview and our wheelhouse, however you want to say it, I like the fact that it'll come to us to make the decision on it.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead, Al.
I think this is a good approach. I did kind of leave the last workshop thinking, wow, did we really just do that? You know, we could have a grocery store in Highview Meadows or something like that pretty soon. Yeah. So I think stepping back here and narrowing this down, and then moving into moving this kind of broader discussion into the comprehensive plan is definitely where you're reaching out to the public and having you know, some charrettes and other kinds of you know, public input, you know, specifically around some issues like this. I think that's really helpful, because I think we were kind of heading down the road too fast, probably. As fun as it was, it was a fun discussion. I think this condition section C, the conditions, and especially number 1, the fact that you guys were able to get that language in there and have that reviewed, and pass legal muster is really critical, because this is the part where we can set the tone for the type of construction and design that will fit within an R1, the landscape, and all of the R1 landscapes aren't exactly the same either. So being able to do this on a situation by situation basis, and I just encourage everybody else, to when these things come up, to really think about the aesthetics and what we want our community to look like, and having it come to this plan commission, I think is definitely the right place for this to happen, because I think you all are, this is the place where the community decides, how we want to be, how we want to design this, how we doesn't want to design our town. So I'm happy with what you've brought forward. Thanks.
Yep. Anybody else have anything? So are we all okay that they bring us back to us in what would it be, the next meeting in May?
Yeah, if I could point a question. Would you like another presentation on this in May?
It would basically just be the same exact thing, right?
Yeah.
Is everybody okay with not having one, or does everybody want the same presentation again in May to kind of help them remember what we're doing?
I'd be fine without one.
Yeah, unless you're going to change
Right.
some of the words or the content in here, I think we should be okay, in my opinion.
Unless we feel like it needs to be recorded during the public
Okay.
or the typical plan commission.
Okay.
Good
I'll
point.
leave it to you guys to decide. It's already prepared.
I don't think, is there something legal that says we have to have it?
I don't think so.
Then I don't think we need it. It sounds like everybody's okay. They got it today, and it'll be in the package again to read over it, right?
Mhm.
Yep. I think that's plenty good enough. Okay. Anything else? Randy or Amy, you have anything else for us?
Nope.
Okay.
That was all.
Anybody else have any questions, guys? No?
I think
It's
we're
all
good.
good. It's all good in the neighborhood.
So, okay, do we have to adjourn from this or no?
No, it's just over. It's done.
The workshop's over.
Yep. Okay, well, thanks, everybody. Thanks for taking the time.